There's more to becoming a professional driver than just obtaining an operator's license and hitting the road. This course covers some of the regulatory requirements you must meet in order to be qualified to operate a commercial motor vehicle, or CMV. A person is qualified to drive a CMV in interstate commerce if he or she is 21 years of age or older, can read and speak the English language well enough to speak with the general public, understand highway traffic signs and signals, respond to official inquiries, make entries on reports and records, can safely operate a CMV, is physically qualified to drive a CMV, has one valid CMV operator's license, has given his or her motor carrier a list of violations from the past 12 months, has not been disqualified to drive a CMV, and has successfully completed a road test. In addition, the driver should be familiar with the methods and procedures for securing cargo. All drivers should be able to determine if the cargo they are hauling is properly secured and its weight evenly distributed on the trailer. See Sections 391.11 and 391.13 of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, or FMCSRs, for complete details. Section 391.15 of the FMCSRs addresses disqualification for drivers operating a CMV as defined in Section 390.5. This definition includes a vehicle or combination of vehicles weighing or rated at 10,001 pounds or more, a vehicle of any size transporting placardable hazardous materials, and certain types of passenger carrying vehicles. A driver may be disqualified from driving a CMV if he or she drove a CMV while under the influence of alcohol or drugs, used a CMV to transport drugs, left the scene of an accident with a CMV, or committed a felony offense involving a CMV. The disqualification period ranges from 6 months to 3 years, depending on the severity of the offense and the driver's previous disqualification record. A driver must not text or use a handheld mobile telephone while driving a CMV. The disqualification period is 60 days for a second violation in a 3-year period and 120 days for a third violation in a 3-year period. During a trip, a driver may be placed out of service by an enforcement officer for a certain period of time or until a given problem has been corrected. A driver convicted of violating such an out-of-service order will be subject to a fine and a disqualification period of 90 days to 5 years, depending on the severity of the offense and previous disqualification record. Because a driver's health is critical to his or her own safety, and the safety of those he or she shares the road with, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, or FMCSA, requires all drivers to undergo a formal medical examination. The medical examination must be conducted by a certified medical examiner listed on the FMCSA National Registry of Certified Medical Examiners, or NRCME. A driver is required to have an exam if he or she has never been certified before, he or she has not been certified during the previous 24 months or since his or her last medical certificate expired, or his or her ability to perform normal duties has been impaired. The medical examiner will issue a medical examiner's certificate and classify a driver as being qualified if he or she does not have any health conditions that would negatively impact his or her ability to safely operate a CMV. Such conditions include missing limb, impairment of any fingers, hands, arms, legs, or feet, insulin-treated diabetes mellitus, unless the requirements in Section 391.46 are met, heart attack or any other cardiovascular disorders, respiratory dysfunction, high blood pressure, rheumatic, arthritic, orthopedic, muscular, neuromuscular, or vascular disease, epilepsy, mental disorders, vision impairment, hearing impairment, drug use, and alcoholism. Medical examiners have a great deal of discretion to certify drivers, even those with a potentially problematic medical condition. Also, some drivers who would otherwise be medically unqualified have the option to apply for a special variance or exemption that allows them to receive a medical certificate. If that's the case, the driver must have and carry proof of the exemption. For example, if a driver has a missing or impaired limb but wears a fitted prosthetic device, a medical examiner may conduct a skill performance evaluation, or SPE, to grant him or her permission to drive a CMV. During the SPE, the driver must demonstrate the ability to operate a CMV safely by completing on- and off-road activities in order to receive an SPE certificate. Each driver must undergo a physical examination at least once every 24 months if no health conditions arise before then. The driver will complete Section 1 of the required medical examination report. During the exam, the medical examiner will fill out and sign the report, which will then be maintained for at least 3 years at the medical examiner's office. If the medical examiner confirms the person is physically qualified to operate a CMV, he or she will issue the driver a medical examiner certificate. The driver will fill in his or her driver's license number, state, and address, and sign the certificate. The medical examiner will complete the rest, sign it, and give the original to the driver. Any driver who does not meet one or more of the physical qualification standards in Section 391.41 of the FMCSRs is considered medically unqualified. When a driver is medically unqualified, the examiner should complete the physical exam of the driver, discuss the reasons for not certifying the driver, and discuss any steps that can be taken to meet the certification standards. The medical examiner must not medically certify any driver who fails to meet a physical qualification requirement cited in the standards, for example, vision, hearing, or epilepsy, or has a medical condition that endangers the health and safety of the driver and the public. When someone is found medically unqualified, the examiner must document the details behind the decision on the medical examination report form by marking the Does Not Meet Standards box, noting the reason for not certifying the driver, and documenting the discussion with the driver explaining the rationale for the decision. Before a medically unqualified driver can return to CMV driving, a medical examiner must find the driver to be medically fit for duty. You should now be able to list the general and physical qualifications drivers must meet in order to operate a commercial motor vehicle, explain the process of obtaining a medical examiner certificate, and identify how a driver can become disqualified from driving a CMV. Now it's time to take the course exam. This exam includes 5 questions. Be aware, if you close the exam before finishing, your answers will not be saved. You may take this exam more than once. Your highest score will be reported. To begin the course exam, select Next.